First, before you look around to make sure no one catches you watching this video, let's be real with each other about one thing. It's something mainstream media rarely mentions by name, but everybody knows about it, or has known about it, at some point, and that is pornography. It caters to one of the most primal human needs. The widespread use of porn isn't anything new, and it's not hard to point out the long-term effects of relying too much on it. Dysfunction in the body, negative impacts on the brain, disrupted daily rhythms, and broken relationships in real life. Of course, I'm not here to waste your time with theories you could Google in under 2 minutes. The success of porn platforms is the result of many factors combined. Modern life, the urge to quickly satisfy not just lust, but also to suppress stress and negative emotions. And here's some honest advice. If you can't go a single day without opening up a private browser tab a few times, then maybe it's time to seek some professional help. But in this video, which is going to be a little sensitive, we'll look at the issue through the simple story of one man. His trash bin is filled with tissues, and his computer is one that absolutely wouldn't want anyone to see its browsing history. That man is Don John, the main character of the 2013 film, a genuine porn addict. But his story isn't only about men stuck in the same situation. It's also about the messy complications in relationships, expectations, mistakes about love and sex, things that pretty much everyone has experienced at least once. Interesting, right? Let's dive in. When it comes to Don John, he isn't obsessed with adult actresses because he's a failure in real life or feels insecure about himself. Actually, he's the opposite. Don is a guy who's attractive and pretty desirable to women. He works at a bar, keeps a spotless apartment, trains consistently, has a ripped six-pack, cruises around in a flashy car, loves his family, and never misses Sunday church. So it's no shock when women give him their numbers. They go out with him, dance, let him put his hands on their tight dresses, and then head home with him at night. Don even admits he only goes for women who rate at least an 8 or above. His lifestyle looks like it's got everything going for it, almost perfect. But when the party ends and the night reveals what's hidden, we see John quietly leave the bed. Even though there are plenty of beautiful women right next to him, he still sits down on the sofa, opens his laptop, and scrolls through endless lists of porn. Why? According to Don, real women just don't compare to the staged scenes on a screen. Online, he can get whatever he wants. Gorgeous actresses with every type of look, all the body measurements, all the suggestive names, and every possible position. The women who go home with him each night won't agree to go too far, or do things outside their comfort zone, and that leaves John disappointed. And that's when we see the real problem inside him: warped sexual expectations. Porn scripts give him whatever he desires, and the women on screen never object. They never say no. They're just there to follow the story that always builds up to a big climax in the end. The reality is that once the brain gets used to extreme stimulation, something porn is specifically designed to create, you end up hooked on constant surges of dopamine. The brain's reward system, the structure that creates motivation and pleasure, loses sensitivity and starts demanding higher and higher levels of stimulation just to feel satisfied. And because of that, real experiences, which are slower and more complicated, start to feel dull. Real life loses completely when compared to the instant hit of stimulation from a screen. The differences between real women and porn actresses turn into barriers. And with modern technology, watching porn has never been easier. John has a slim laptop, and he can even watch on his phone anywhere he wants. Porn today is like fast food: tasty, cheap, and everywhere. But the long-term damage is just like oil and fat building up in your body. The used tissues keep piling up. Trips to church become regular confessions for what he's been doing with both hands. And without even realizing, Don becomes a full-on addict. So what exactly made him become so devoted to porn? It's not something that comes from just one simple reason. But the truth is, we live in a world where attention is the most expensive currency. And the fastest way to grab that attention is with sexual imagery, either direct or implied. From the very first scene, we're bombarded with ads, music videos, entertainment shows, all using sex appeal to draw people in. There's even a funny scene where Don and his dad can't take their eyes off a Burger Cars commercial, where a model in lingerie eats a burger on the beach. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a criticism of how women dress. For decades, big corporations and brands have been buying attention with half-naked models, sometimes even pushing right up against the line of soft porn. Don Jon came out over 10 years ago, but now it's even clearer. On social media and every entertainment platform, hot images are still the #1 way to hook viewers. We don't even need to bring up cultural morals here. The problem is that this constant use of sexual imagery feeds men like Don illusions about women and sex that are completely off base. At the bar, he meets a stunning woman named Barbara Sugarman, and we immediately see the difference. When he first tries to kiss her, she clearly refuses. "What makes you think you can just do that?" she says. But Don doesn't care. To him, this is just like a scene in the movies he watches every night. He even admits, "When I find a really good porn video, it makes me sad, because I ask myself why these girls don't exist in real life." This is exactly what happens when you consume too much unhealthy content. Even though Jon is surrounded by real women, he keeps holding on to the fake fantasies of porn. It's inviting, exciting, and easy to access, and the thrill is intense. But the women he sleeps with never stay past one night. The fun never lasts until sunrise. His head is crowded with explicit images running on repeat. Deep down, Jon knows something is wrong, but he has no idea how to fix it. He can't go a single day without his laptop, and soon enough, Don realizes something's really wrong. He's not happy. Ironically, the moment hits him while he's watching a movie. An actress says, "Do you want a meaningful relationship?" And Jon is shaken awake. Yes, a meaningful relationship. That's what everyone says is the key to a happy life. His dad always taught him that starting a family is the greatest joy for any man. So Jon throws all his tissues away, determined to give up porn once and for all, to quit the website with the orange logo. But now the problem is where to find that meaningful relationship. And right away, he thinks of Barbara Sugarman. She was the only woman who bluntly turned him down that night. The reason was simple. She's gorgeous, demanding, and hard to impress. Winning her heart would take effort and time. And Don convinces himself that this must be what people mean by a serious relationship. If he can stick it out, then sex will be great again. And maybe he'll finally reconnect with reality. Motivated by this goal, Jon adds Barbara on Facebook and asks her out for coffee. Things go well, and she actually likes him. Coffee turns into movies, which turns into dinner, which turns into meeting the parents and going to church together. Pretty soon, they're basically acting like a married couple, even planning a future together. From the outside, this looks like a massive step forward. Barbara seems to make his life better. She pushes him to go back to school so he can get a better job. She wants him to grow into a successful man. Now when Don goes to bars, he doesn't even look at other women, because the woman by his side is better than any 10. They also don't rush things. After a while, they finally decide to sleep together. They do everything by the book, putting in all the time and effort. Don is convinced this time finally he'll rediscover that lost spark. But once again, hilariously enough, he sneaks out at night. Somehow, he still ends up glued to the same old videos. Afraid of Barbara catching him, he starts watching porn in the car, even in class. The cracks in the relationship start showing, and it all comes down to one thing. Barbara doesn't give him the satisfaction he thought she would. So why? Why would a man who has almost everything still run back to porn to chase pleasure that isn't real? Eventually, Barbara catches him with his awful browsing history. She explodes, cries, yells, and dumps him immediately. Jon is crushed, and like every addict, he goes back to the only thing that soothes him: dopamine. He wants to change, but he falls right back into the same place, worse than before. He breaks all his old tissue use records, isolates himself, and grows bitter toward women. Bitch! He curses, hating Barbara for not measuring up to the perfect actresses online. He convinces himself that love is a waste of time, and so the cycle repeats. Jon goes to the bar, hooks up with someone new, and still sneaks away to watch porn after. It's a miserable loop, right? A meaningful relationship wasn't the answer, after all. So where is the answer? What exactly is this guy searching for? In the end, the person who helps untangle his mess is the last one he expected, a classmate from his night school. Unlike Barbara, she's older, with signs of age on her face. Definitely not the type of woman John would normally glance at twice. But strangely enough, she understands everything he says. Out of all his friends, she's the only one he can open up to, and he confides in her about his struggles. Esther might be the first person who dares to tell him the truth. No matter how many women chase after him, he doesn't actually understand them. And more than that, he's selfish.
Look, the way you have sex, it's like totally one-sided. It's like, I'm not even there.
That's when Don finally realizes the truth. He's always been chasing his own immersion, but he never once asked if the women he was with felt anything at all. He thought he was in a meaningful relationship with Barbara, but even then, all he cared about was satisfying himself. And here's the twist. Barbara was also living in a fantasy. She was obsessed with corny romance movies, the kind where love means sacrificing everything, where kisses are explosive, where couples drive through the sunset making impossible promises. She didn't love Don. She just wanted a prince who obeyed her, someone who would let her control things. So when she found out that her perfect prince was secretly stuck on porn, she acted like it was the most disgusting thing on earth. And that's the point. At the core, the problem was simple. They didn't understand each other. They lay next to each other without ever knowing or even caring what the other person felt. Sure, porn, ads, social media, all of these things have negative impacts. But in the end, they only exaggerate what's already inside us. A deep fear that when we connect with someone, we'll have to face their imperfections. This is shown clearly in the first scene where Don meets Esther. She's crying, but he coldly walks past, not wanting to get involved. For him, understanding someone takes too much time. It's easier to hit the bar and grab someone who also just wants a quick night. But eventually, Don realizes his expectations have been wrong all along. That night, he goes home with Esther. It's a sad night. He feels broken inside, and Esther still cries alone. Her husband and son died in a car accident. They hold each other, slowly, simply. No sounds, no dramatic poses, no woman above 8 points. Just two people, both hurting. And yet, it turns out to be the most meaningful night of all. Not because of lust or fantasy, but because they truly understand each other. The intimacy has meaning. Something given. Something received. Something that stays with Don even the next morning after he leaves. There's another clever detail in the film. The word used for sex is also the same word starting with F that everyone knows, usually used as a curse word when angry. Meanwhile, the phrase "make love" was something Don used to dismiss as childish. But in the end, that's the word he uses to explain what love really means. And it's not love at first sight, not love at a glance, not even some fantasy about marriage and kids like people gossip about. For Don, love is simply in making love, in the mutual understanding when two people connect. Closing the laptop and stepping out into the real world, that's the answer Don finally finds for himself. And I'll admit, it does sound old-fashioned. Understanding another person is hard. Living with someone is hard. And truly becoming one with another person, that's probably the hardest thing in the world. It's uncomfortable, messy, and definitely not as glamorous as the instant pleasures that entertainment gives us. Especially in a world where media is constantly trying to capture our attention with fantasy sex, the real thing is even harder. But maybe that's the only real answer. The only joy that actually lasts into the next morning. The only thing that's real. We see Don walking hand in hand with Esther in the sunlight of New York. A scene he never cared about before. But now it matters. They share a moment of intimacy where both are satisfied together. Maybe you can't talk about making love without mentioning love. And if there's love, there has to be meaning in it. Pleasure will always fade, but meaning is what remains. So maybe don't give in too quickly. Don't chase fast pleasure too eagerly. Because what comes fast disappears just as fast. And the emptiness afterward, when you're left alone in a quiet room and realize you desperately need someone, that is the scariest feeling of all.